Hello and welcome back to the Gold Advantage. This is the LEC episode. The LCS episode came out a couple of days ago, covering playoffs.
By the way, great episode on the LCS. Like, just to give yourself some credit,
Thank you.
if you're not listening
Appreciate
to both episodes, you're missing out on opportunities and money.
Absolutely. I will say I've been on a bit of a hot streak. I have been on a bit of a hot streak, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Don't think I haven't been following.
I'm happy to hear that. So we had some games last week.
Oh, did we? Did that take place?
I think I want to talk about, so Saturday we had Fnatic versus Mad Lions. I just want to touch on this.
Let's touch on it.
Mad Lions looked fucking awful.
Terrible.
Kazi in particular was a disaster. The guy was just getting caught out left, right, and center. And now this is the Mad Lions I expected last split to not make playoffs. They ended up winning it all. I gave them a bit of leeway at the beginning. I maintained at the start of the split they looked okay. But then wow, did the downhill come fast. And to be honest, the whole team just looked terrible.
Let me ask you a question. I have two sides of the same coin talking to me on this, which is Fnatic lost their first game to an XL team that we were bullish on, and I think that that's safe to say still bullish on.
No, Mad Lions lost to XL. Fnatic lost to SK.
That's right. That was a surprise. This was a Fnatic teams that before the playoffs, and I'll just consider this the playoffs, started, I said that they were going to win. I don't know if you remember. If you go back in the pod, I was like, Fnatic is going to win this.
Well, they looked so strong.
They look so strong.
And then the match against SK was a disaster. SK also looked good.
SK also looked good. Now, I haven't had a full chance to debrief with you on this, but is this a Fnatic team that had a momentary day, like a bad day, just a bad day? SK played really well, and then Fnatic kind of like regroups, comes back against a Mad Lions team that, you know, we're used to seeing perform when it comes to these type of moments, but honestly, like Fnatic was just by far the superior team. Now, much better. But if you looked from the entire like split so far, that was the right outcome for that match. For sure. I guess my question is this a return of Fnatic? Like, should we be now re-hype on Fnatic, which I'm ready to do, and I have a bias towards already? Or was this Mad Lions just kind of shit in the bed and not really performing?
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay. I think when I looked at the game one against SK, the first series against SK, I think just Fnatic looked really bad and really uncoordinated. And I think that's the thing. They seem to have lost some of their cohesiveness. They regained it against Mad Lions. Mad Lions and Kazi really looked awful, so it made Fnatic look better. And then even against SK, I think Fnatic looked a step better again. So they obviously something happened and they're regaining it, so they're in the right trajectory. I do think both opponents looked weaker. Touch on Mad Lions, but SK, I think in particular, played a bit scared. It seems like they've lost some of the energy and looseness of being rookies. You know, they had a bad tracking of ults and summoners, and I just think there were a few moments. There was one moment in top lane where they ran away. There was uncoordinated backs around a dragon, which they had won the fight and had secured the dragon, but then they backed, I think DOS in particular, and then Fnatic just took the dragon. DOS particularly had a bad game. It was a shame because I was kind of getting excited. I was like, ooh, is SK getting back to winter form? Unfortunately, I just don't think that's the case. I think the roster peaked in winter and has kind of dropped off. And they handled business pretty convincingly.
Correct.
Fnatic doesn't look as good as they did in the best of ones, but I also don't think they look as bad as they did in the first best of three against SK. We're seeing improvements there.
And as always, Aristotle's theorem on beating the same team twice is undefeated yet again. And I'm sure you want to talk about this next.
It's doing great. Other team on the other side is obviously Heretics. The Koi match I don't think matters. Koi is just, Larssen has had a great split, but the whole team is just a disaster. So no point talking there. Nope. The match against BDS though, it was a good, both of them. 2-0. It was a good series. Evi has had more growth in these group stages than he has all year, I would say. Most importantly, honestly, Vetheo, he's become so much better since he's changed team.
And I would say this is a classic function of best of threes being just different than best of ones. And sometimes like a player enjoys getting a feel, knowing the champions that they're going to be picking, the play style that they're going for, and then being able to have that repetition is very helpful.
The last series I want to talk about, G2 versus XL. Okay. This was a 5-game banger.
Banger.
No one expected it.
I did.
You thought G2 was going to barely win 3-2.
I actually thought Excel was going to win.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's convenient you weren't on the podcast to say that.
And I fully expect Aristotle to repeat again in the finals.
And have Excel win it all.
That's right.
All right. Well, you hear it here. I'll hold you to that.
Please do.
I think it was interesting because I didn't believe in the 3-0. Mainly because I thought G2 might play a little bit fast and loose. And they really did in game 2. They gave over the Kai'Sa. They gave over the Jace. And it was just like the game was taken over. Abadage played really well, which I'm very happy to see because I kind of went out on a limb saying that I think he's playing well and got a bit worried about leaving that in the episode about taking shit. And then he's just kind of proved me right. He really
playing a bit fast and loose yourself. But don't worry about it. It works.
There we go. I'm happy to see Abed playing well. Honestly, he's been really, really solid for them and the whole team. Yeah, look, game 2 I think was G2 playing a little bit loose, but then game 4, which is the one I think XL won, in particular was just like XL knowing how they wanted to play and not giving in. They refused to just give up.
Yeah.
And so there were times where G2 was looking good coming back in, but XL was aggressive. They were taking fights where they needed to. They were taking advantages where they needed to when they were ahead and when they were behind.
Yep.
Look, G2 took the win.
But XL took my heart.
Exactly. I love that. There we go.
And that is why they're going to win in the finals.
Legitimately.
Look, we had this 2 weeks ago when I was on the last podcast. XL was a team that we saw throughout their performance, throughout the split, was on the rise.
Yeah.
They've done nothing to make me think otherwise. If anything, going toe-to-toe with G2 at that stage, I think will only benefit and help them as they're looking to beat, whether it be Fnatic or Heretics. And then they know that they were right there, and they have the confidence now.
What a confidence boost.
That when they match up again, if they match up again, to be able to come in and say, no, we're winning this. We know the mistakes we made, and we're going to correct those.
Finals game against G2, if they match up against them again, I think will come down more to, does G2 really tighten up their gameplay? Yep. I suspect they will. I don't think they'll give the drafts over. I don't think they'll make those mistakes. That, being in the upper bracket allows them a certain level of leeway.
Sure.
I don't think they will do that again, but also it gives a lot of confidence and a lot of information over to Excel that they can hang.
Agreed.
Also, what a great story. 10th to here. When I look at Heretics and Excel in groups, and particularly this first match, I think they're playing with more cohesion than Fnatic. And this takes us to the Fnatic Heretics. Yep. I think there might be an upset.
Tell me more. Please tell me more.
Honestly, Fnatic was looking better and improving in the right trajectory across groups after their defeat to SK. Still did not look as clean and as good as I expect them to be.
Okay.
In particular, Humanoid.
Right.
Noah pulled
Subhuman.
out some game-winning plays, but you can't rely on him pulling out game-winning plays constantly. I think that's a big thing there.
To your point, Vetheo's been playing really well. And so when you have that matching up against Humanoid, right, like it's all about matchups. And when you have players who are performing better and can expose some of those weaknesses, and we know how important mid lane is. It kind of helps control the entire flow of how players move about the entire map. I'm here to tell you, Nikki, Fnatic is winning this 3-0.
3-0.
3-0. Minus 2.5, 3.08. I think that this is a bit where the rubber meets the road. This is a Heretics team that, I mean, let's be real, they were the last team to make it in, and they should have not been in to a degree. But these are two teams that were on completely different sides of the bracket. I hear you. I know that Heretics has made it this far, but I don't know. They haven't really had to play anybody to get here. It's a bit of an overstatement. They played well against BDS the first time, then they showed up and played BDS again. But when your record is beating Koi, great. We were so down on Koi. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
When your record is losing to BDS and then beating BDS, I don't know, man.
Also, BDS did not look that great.
They didn't. It wasn't the BDS team I was hoping for. And so for me, this is a Fnatic team that lost to SK, kind of had like a wake up. I think they kind of started cruising and then put the hammer down on Mad Lions and SK. I fully expect Fnatic to come into this revitalized, ready to roll. And so I really like just an absolute hammer.
I also think Fnatic will win. I like the -1.5 at 1.68, -2.5 at 3.08. I think is really good value. I think it's worth putting a small amount on. I would actually probably put a bit on -2.5 and -1.5 and try and get it right. Particularly just like going back to the drafts that Heretics did to win against BDS. Game 1, they gave Vetheo Kai'Sa.
Yeah, don't do that.
That lost them the game. He was an absolute monster.
Don't do that.
I don't know what you're doing. They learned game 2, but they just gave a good draft over and made some misplays, and that was it. It was over. So just to play devil's advocate, I will say Oscar Renin did not play the best. Neither did Humanoid. And this is the first time Oscar Renin's going to be playing at this level, at this big of a crowd. So there is a chance that he might crumble a little bit. For argument's sake,
talk to me.
+1.5 on Heretics at 2.2.
That is good value.
I'm saying that could it get to a 5-game series? It could. I think that isn't bad. But at that point, there's also, it's actually just better taking over 4.5 at 3.2. But if you want to take individual map lines for Fnatic, I would take -5.5 or -6.5 kill handicap. Because at -5.5, you're getting 1.7, -6.5, you're getting 1.82. That's within, it's a team fight and a half. I think that's reasonable.
But the reason I love that is Fnatic's a team that loves to kill. Like in their most 2 recent wins over SK, you had 22 and 15 in the game 2, so like a very heavy. Or they're just suffocating, and it was 11-4. So
we would be hitting both of those.
Both of those, and so macro perspective, my belief is Fnatic is the better team.
Yeah,
I think this will show up. And I think this is a team that's kind of they had to get a little bit slapped around, and they were like, it was like fresh water on the face, and now they're back. You've heard it here first. If Fnatic plays XL, XL is going to be an underdog. Hammer XL. And you can repeat this for me if you want. And if XL is playing G2, they're also going to be underdogs, and hammer them. Whoever plays G2 is going to be an underdog, and I would like to put my money right now, whether it be Fnatic or XL, I'm going with the underdog.
A blind bet on whoever it is. Okay.
Just like in League, I'm the blind pick.
Big money believes makes some big money plays.
Let's do it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye everyone.
Toodaloo.